Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just a few moments. I want to make sure everything is working right, and then we'll get going. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Let's see. All right, mic check on YouTube. Okay, so it seems like we're good on YouTube. I'm gonna check Facebook, and then we'll get going, inshallah. All right, seems like we're good on Facebook. I'm gonna check Instagram, and then we shall get going, inshallah. Okay, so it seems like we're good on Instagram as well. So we'll get started. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ridwanullah family. Welcome to a new episode of the Ridwanullah Show. I'm your host and financial coach, Hussein Mohamud, working to help you completely maximize your finances in this dunya and in the akhirah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Verily, all praise and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, owner, and sustainer. And may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon the most esteemed leader and most honorable teacher, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his family, his companions, and those who follow him until the day of judgment. Allahumma ameen. And inshallah, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about not having money ready for Ramadan and its consequences, so to say. And anything else we can cover along the way, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. I'm just coming back from my first quarter Ridwanullah retreat. So I'm trying to get acclimated, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, and get orientated back to the grind. So back on my grind, you heard me? Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. So there's definitely a lot to talk about, and as I was thinking about what's the best title for the show, the main thing that's coming up next week, inshallah, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to get there, is that Ramadan is going to be next week, right? Mind blowing. uh, so in light of that, we're going to be talking about the financial aspects of Ramadan, and making sure that we're ready for Ramadan, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. And also, I will be giving a virtual talk about getting ready for Ramadan this Saturday around 12:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And inshallah, once I get the flyers and everything, I'll be sharing that with you guys, or at least just share some of the details with you guys, inshallah, as soon as I have it available, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So you could be a part of three groups when it comes to money and Ramadan, right? You could be a part of the group that has money ready for the month of Ramadan. You could be a part of the group that does not have money ready for the month of Ramadan. And you could be a part of the group who's somewhere in between, right? You kind of have it ready, but not really, type of thing. Obviously, which group do you want to be a part of? I know for me personally and professionally, I would love to be a part of the first group, which is the group that has money ready for Ramadan, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So the question for you in regards to your finances is, do you have your money ready for Ramadan, right? That's a good question to ask yourself. It's either yes, no, and I'll maybe give room for maybe, right? Generally you want to keep it black and white for the most part. And if there's a little bit of gray area needed, you might want to give yourself that grace of gray space by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, um, let me just let you know the phone number for the show is 801-471-6491. Once again, 801-471-6491 is the direct number to the show. So you can feel free to give me a call with any of your financial maximization questions on your financial maximization journey, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And if it's as usual, we don't get any calls, text, or comment, or things of that nature, we'll try to cut it short. But know that you can hit me up with any of your financial maximization questions. Maximizing your finances is not an easy process, is not an easy journey, but it is something that, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, throughout time, you can get better at it until you become the best at it, and even better than that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So once again, 801-471-6491. Hit me up with any of your financial maximization questions. I'm in the thick of it with my financial maximization journey and reality and everything else in between. But it's one of those things where you just got to be out there doing it before you're actually ready, so you can get ready through the process and get to a certain situation where we're able to kind of do things that we hope to be doing in the future, but just doing it on a micro scale now and eventually scaling it up to where it needs to be. And I love coaching and consulting. So, I'm a coaching consultant. So, just creating a show for Muslims to ask about their financial maximization journey and financial maximization matters, both urgent and not so urgent questions, or short-term or long-term questions. Either of those really is fair game by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know, the older you get, the more you worry about and care about and work towards getting your finances to at least sufficient level. So I really wanted to, be a student of money, be a student of the reality of money, and be a student of the controllers of money, right? The ultimate controller of money is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ultimate creator of money is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody else is just facilitated through. And this is a part of the trials and tribulations of life, right? And money is so permeated, if I could use a big word that I don't even know what it really means, but it just sounds right for the occasion. That is just so prevalent in all parts of our lives, right? When it comes to our work and investments on a professional level, it's impacting that. Our deen and self, our family and relatives, and the ummah and others. It really, really impacts every area of your life, right? So I'll give you a list of things that you should have ready for money, that you should have ready for the month of Ramadan, so you can determine if you are ready for the month of Ramadan or not, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And I'll just say it, and not in any particular order, but in the order that they come up. And I'll just kind of go through step by step. And then as I'm going through this, think about it for yourself. Do you have money ready for it? Have you paid it in advance, right? Better yet, did you take care of the things that you need to take care of in advance? And are you taking care of the money matters within the month of Ramadan that you need to take care of? That's an important question for you, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But as I'm going through it, don't be afraid to call in and ask your questions. And feel free to let me know any of the questions that you have, because primarily that's what the live Q&A call-in show is set up for. Secondarily, if as we're waiting on calls and text and comments and things of that nature for engagement, I'll just be sharing with you some valuable and useful lessons when it comes to money, right? Regarding for Muslims, right? So, the first thing that really comes to my mind when it comes to being ready for the month of Ramadan, if you are somebody who regularly sponsors an iftar at the masjid for the community, you need to have that money ready, right? You need to make sure you have that money ready, set aside, or if it's allowed with your masjid the masjid that you normally go to, you make sure that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala that you have the food ready for it and you're planning and preparing to cook the food. If cooking the food is not an option, make sure that you have the money ready either way, right? Because whether you give the money directly or you use the money to buy the groceries to cook the food, you need to make sure that that money is ready bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. That's usually a couple of $100, maybe around $300 on the low end, up to $1,000 plus, depending on the size of your masjid. So making sure that you have that ready and set aside is going to be important. And if you're checking yes for this, great. If it's no, then this is something for you to work on bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Secondly, is making sure that you have the money ready for Eid, right? I know we're starting with the end in mind, but you want to make sure that you, your spouse, and children have enough money for clothes, uh, ilan, I guess is what they call it, or henna. Um, you know, Whatever decoration that you may need and want, without going overboard with it. Having enough money to go enjoy a meal and activities and things like that with your family and friends, and things of that nature. So having the Eid money ready is going to be important, and that's on average around $500 to $1,000 plus, depending on your family and how much you want to spend on your Eid, right? Or as minimal as you want to make it, but at the end of the day, make sure that you have your money ready for Eid bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, the Eid celebration in totality. So that's another thing that when I think about getting your money ready for for Ramadan, that's something that you want to make sure that you have ready by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, amongst the things that you should have ready for Ramadan is sadaqah. Um, this is the things that you're going to be giving out throughout the month of Ramadan, whether and this is to your capacity. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden a slave beyond their capacity. So don't burden yourself beyond your capacity. Stay within your capacity financially, right? In terms of sadaqah, whether that's fundraising for the masjid, fundraising for um, otherwise, just going out of your own way to help people that are in need financially to the best of your abilities, keeping in mind your own financial goals as well. But knowing that sadaqah does not decrease your wealth is going to be important if you are fortunate enough to give sadaqah. So, do you have money set aside for your regular general sadaqah, right? Or irregular in general sadaqah, especially the last 10 days of Ramadan. You want to give, in the first week, 2 or 3 weeks, but, third and fourth week, when it's the last 10 days of Ramadan, you want to make sure that you're fully ready for Ramadan, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, Ramadan sadaqah. That's so we talked about uh, iftar, we talked about Eid, we talked about general sadaqah. Now we're going to be talking about zakat al fitr, right? The zakat of fitr. This is obligatory on every leader of the household to take care of for his household. So keep that in mind. Zakat al fitr is a very, very important thing to consider when it comes to taking care of your money for the month of Ramadan. Um, so that's number four. And number five, which is actually preceding all of these things, is that make sure that you have your regular money for Ramadan. What I mean by regular is you got to pay rent, you got to take care of food, you got to take care of, if you have a business, you got to take care of the business expenses or investments. Um, you want to make sure you have enough money ready for that, right? So that's actually number one, is to have your regular expenses taken care of as soon as you possibly can. So once you take care of your regular expenses, you also want to make sure that you have the community iftar money ready. You want to make sure zakat al-fitr is ready, and you want to make sure your general sadaqah is ready. um, and last but not least, you want to make sure your Eid money is ready as well for you and your loved ones by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those are the top five money that you need to have ready for Ramadan by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you guys have any questions regarding your financial maximization journey, you can hit me up at 801-471-6491. I am the host of the show as well as your financial coach. So you can hit me up with any of your questions, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Shortly, we'll be transitioning over to the Mohamud Show, talking about life maximization. So feel free to check with us there as well, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And I think that's essentially it. I shall be wrapping it up here, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But feel free to hit me up with any of your financial maximization questions, and we'll try to do the best that we can to help you elevate your finances to at least sufficient levels in this dunya and in the akhirah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's pretty much it. Jazakumullahu khair, Ridwanullah family. I hope you benefited from the top five financial tips that you can have ready for the month of Ramadan. If you have it ready, great. If you don't have it ready, you got your work cut out for you. If you're somewhere in between, buckle down and finish it up, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khair, Ridwanullah family, for tuning in to a new episode of the Ridwanullah Show. I'm your host and financial coach, Hussein Mohamud, working to help you completely maximize your finances in this dunya and in the akhirah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.